Welcome to the November 2020 Star Wars Canon Update. Last month we got 4 new episodes of The Mandalorian, a new book, a new VR game, and 6 new comics, so let's dive in. I don't want to spend too much time on The Mandalorian because I have covered it extensively, and I'll link to all those reviews in the cards, but this season has been fantastic so far. It's definitely falling into some patterns, both in its episodes and season structure. It's like we get a main mission episode and then a side quest, and then a main quest and then a side quest, but episodes like The Siege show how to handle those side missions while still teasing some major implications for the future. Every episode is also falling into a pattern of Din meeting someone that can help him if he helps them do something first, but all of those tasks have been varied enough that it's not bothering me at all. I'm mostly impressed with how well the series is balancing the new with the familiar. Bo-Katan's appearance especially surprised me with how much her character was used to challenge Din and everything he knows. I admit I was a little worried that Chapter 13 veered too far into the familiar side of things, but it's all good. There's already a lot going on in the show, and sometimes I can let my anxieties get the best of me. As much as I'm excited to potentially see a live-action Grand Admiral Thrawn, I fear throwing him into the mix is a little much. I could say the same for any potential Jedi that Grogu may or may not contact in the future, but I'm getting ahead of myself instead of just enjoying the ride, which is some crazy fun Star Wars storytelling that I cannot wait to see every single week. So that's all I'll say about Mando right now. Again, you can watch my individual reviews if you want more, but I expect of everything I'm talking about today, most people have seen this, so let's move on. From a certain point of view, The Empire Strikes Back was the new book we got. Like the original in the series, it goes through The Empire Strikes Back from the point of view of 40 side and background characters. It's a fun time, and I really loved about a quarter of the stories, which is pretty close to the same of the first book. Personally, I want to give special mention to Jason Fry's story about Wedge because he just nailed the feel of the old Legends X-Wing stories by Michael Stackpole and Aaron Alston, some of my all-time favorites. If you're interested in picking up the audiobook for free, you can by clicking on the link in the description or by going to www.audibletrial.com/Star Wars Explained. Tales from the Galaxy's Edge is the new VR game for Oculus Quest that I assume will open up for more platforms down the line like Vader Immortal did. I'll spend a little extra time here because the barrier of entry to this story is higher than most Star Wars stories. The game is more blaster-focused than Vader Immortal, which I personally didn't find to be as much fun. I preferred the lightsaber and the Force. Most of the story takes place between episodes 8 and 9 and is fairly inconsequential. You play as a smuggler that comes across R2-D2 and C-3PO on Batuu, and you help him out. My favorite part of the main game was the puzzle aspect, using your multi-tool, but for me the highlight of the whole thing was getting a glimpse into the High Republic era. The bartender will tell you a story about an old Jedi temple, and you play as a Padawan working with Yoda to cleanse it of the dark side. That was really fun. You get to use a lightsaber and the Force again, and just seeing the temple is really cool. It sufficiently teased me and got me pumped up for all of that to officially start in just over a month, but it also felt like the part of the game with the most meaning and the most to say. It's just cool to start diving into the Jedi Order of this time to see how they might be different. Kind of like Vader Immortal though, I would say only get this if you're really into VR and already have an Oculus Quest. I don't think it's worth it to pick up a whole system just for this. But moving on to comics, Star Wars Issue 8 continued our look into the motivations for Commander Zara. Her main goal is to tear down Leia as a symbol of hope for the Rebel Alliance. She proves that she is more than a match for her in combat, but she has also shaken her mentally. It was good, still a bit of a transition issue, but good. And the next issue is going to kick off the Operation Starlight arc. I'm still excited to see where Soule takes everything. He has yet to disappoint when it comes to Star Wars comics. In Darth Vader Issue 7, Ochi of Bestoon continued his hunt for Vader, as tasked by Palpatine. Vader, of course, survives, but is distracted in the midst of their fighting by the Eye of the Webbish Bog, the oracle creature that was cut out of The Rise of Skywalker, although it was included in the novelization. The previous arc of this comic connected very heavily to the prequels, and now we're connecting into the sequels, and I am loving all of it. Getting a new perspective on some of this stuff is really fun, and I hope it gives me a little more appreciation for some of the elements of Episode 9 I wasn't all that enthusiastic about. Dr. Aphra Issue 6 surprised me, which is par for a series that has always brought in a bunch of unexpected elements. After besting Ronan Tag in the previous issue by blowing him up, I figured his Aunt Domina would be out for Aphra's blood. But instead, she sees the rogue archaeologist as someone she thinks can be useful, and she hires her to steal a piece of High Republic technology called the Path Engine. It's of Nile design and holds a key to some lost method of lightspeed travel, and Domino wants it. We've been told the Nile will be seen to use hyperspace in a very interesting way, and I have to imagine these path engines will play into that. Bounty Hunters issue 7 was fine. Of the ongoing series, it's the one I'm least interested in at the moment. It's not bad, but it's just not grabbing my attention yet. Valance hasn't completely won me over, but seeing more of his backstory helped, and the fight against Forlom and Zuckuss was cool. I also appreciate that he dropped the child he's been protecting off for safety, so the series is differentiating itself a little more from The Mandalorian, and I like the cat and mouse game that's been set up for future issues as well. Shadow of Vader's Castle was meant to come out back in October for Halloween. I don't know why it was delayed. Instead of a weekly series this time around, they put 4 stories into one comic, and I've liked the Vader's Castle series these past 2 years, and this entry was also good. It even connected into things like the Acolytes of the Beyond, a mysterious group we haven't heard a whole lot about yet. I still think these installments have been the best of the Star Wars Adventures line of comics. Speaking of, we got the Adventures Annual last month, finally. I don't know why that one took so long to come out. It got delayed month after month, and it was fine. That tends to be my review for this series every month. It's not even remotely meant for me, so it's what I expect. They're not bad, but they also don't have me falling over myself with excitement. So finally, we also get to the second issue of the new Star Wars Adventures, and same thing. The first half wrapped up a Rey, Finn, and Poe story that began last month, and the other showed us some of Supreme Leader Kylo Ren, both taking place in between The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker. Nothing mind-blowing, but nothing bad either. If you've got some younger readers who want to get into Star Wars comics, these are still a good, safe bet. For Story of the Month in November, I'm going with The Mandalorian Chapter 11, The Heiress. Before this season started, a live-action Bo-Katan played by Katie Sackhoff was at the top of my wish list. I love that it happened, I love how it happened, and I love why it happened within the story. I know so many people who grew up with the Clone Wars are more thrilled about Ahsoka, and that's great, but for some reason Bo-Katan really spoke to me, and I hope we see her show up again. In December, we're getting the final 3 episodes of Season 2 of The Mandalorian and 4 new comic issues. Also, there will be an update to Star Wars Squadrons that gives us the B-Wing and TIE Defender, and that's not story content, and we don't have a date for it yet, but I am very excited about that. But that's it for November. The Canon update will return New Year's Day, January 1st, 2021 to cover all that new content. Until then, please like this video, subscribe to the channel to keep up with new Star Wars stories as they're released, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and consider checking out our Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.